You're enjoying Racing World. It's brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your global motorsport podcast show brought to you in conjunction with Race Control Magazine.
Racing World is back. 4 races remain in the IndyCar Series for 2024. Who is going to take out that title? Only time will tell. Let's get into it. Well, welcome back to another edition of Racing World. Been a bit of a break over the last few months as I was tied up with other things, namely Paris. But good to be back. It's plenty happening in the NTT INDYCAR Series and the Indy Next Series for that matter. But let's just focus our attention first of all on the NTT INDYCAR Series. And it was great to see New Zealander Hunter McElrea make his debut in IndyCar, long overdue, well deserved in the Toronto street race. Couldn't have been probably one of the more trickier tracks to join the series in the Dale Coyne entry, but Hunter did a great job. And it was really good to see him in a big car. And I hope that we see more from McElrea in a big car, because I think he's proved to everyone and anyone who even had any doubts that he's the real deal and worthy of a great drive. But we did have the chance to catch up with him after that race in Toronto. So as we're playing a little bit of a catch up here, here's what Hunter had to say.
Hey guys, Hunter here. Finished my first IndyCar race kinda, but first one in the books. Was an awesome race. We were moving forward, we had really good pace, pretty much same as the leaders, which is awesome. Did some cool moves. And then on my last stint on my outlap, I just got in the grey and just brushed the wall, and then unfortunately a couple laps later the suspension failed from just that little brush. So really unfortunate. I think we were off a really good result. So obviously not the end result we wanted, not the result the team deserved either, but honestly super proud of, I think, what we did as a whole this weekend. I think we made a splash and showed great pace. I think, had we not had to start at the back, I think we would have been starting comfortably inside the top 15 and fighting with good pace at the front. So woulda, shoulda, coulda type of thing. But first weekend in IndyCar, maybe not on paper the results we wanted, but overall just loved it. And thanks to Dale Coyne and Courtesy Corporation, JR Smart, everyone for backing me and giving me this opportunity. And hopefully I can be back in an IndyCar again.
Yes, a little bit of audio distortion there, but you get the general idea. And McElrea does deserve that drive. He deserves to be in a car full time. He's worthy of the deal. Doing a great job in the sports cars at the moment, but let's hope he can convert something into 2025. Lots of things happening in regards to 25, with Ganassi maybe scaling down back to maybe even 3 cars. So there'll be some spare seats, or there'll be some spare drivers there. There's a lot of other shuffle round, new technical alliances. Shank Racing today announcing that they no longer have a strategic alliance with Andretti. Andretti saying that they won't be doing alliances with anyone now. And Shank teaming up with a strategic alliance with the Ganassi Racing team. And of course, Foyt's are very close with Penske at the moment. So there's a lot of things going on, with all those things. The big surprise over the recent weeks was, of course, David Malukas announcing that he's going to Foyt next year. I thought he was a sitter to stay at Shanks, and it'd be interesting to see who fills that seat. Will it be Rossi? Where will Rossi end up? Don't forget, Prema are in the cards for 2 cars next year as well. So I would never rule out Marcus Armstrong going there. I'm not saying that I know that, and I hope that he actually stays at Ganassi's, but he's got great connections there, so time will tell. So the drivers market is firmly alive and kicking. Back at last weekend, we had the oval race at Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka St. Louis. It was rumoured to be maybe a follow the leader type race. It ended up being far from it. A record number of passes made at that track over any event that they've had there before for IndyCar, and record number of lead changes as well. At the end of the day, Joseph Newgarden took away the win. I believe, in my mind anyway, it's slightly controversial with the restart. The data has said that he didn't slow the car down or accelerate or anything over what he had been doing in other restarts. But to the blind eye, it kind of looked a little that way. And I think that Will Power had every reason to be aggrieved. And then more importantly is the fact that it was Penske versus Penske. And of course, Scott McLaughlin was involved in all of that mix as well. So, yeah, I'd have to say I'm not sure if I'm a true believer on that one, but an opinion is an opinion and time will tell. Penske today announced the fact that they let their drivers race. And I think that that's a great thing, because as we've said before, we don't want to see team orders come into play and championships decided by team orders. But I think in this instance, Newgarden, whilst mathematically still in the chance with the championship, should have probably played the better game for both McLaughlin and certainly Will Power, who is a serious championship contender. And this really hurt Power over the weekend. But with these races remaining, you got to score big points all the way through. The person who did that, of course, was Kiwi Scott McLaughlin. Whilst it wasn't the top step of the podium after taking the pole position, he did a great job during the race, and it really came down to that last pit stop phase where he was slightly slower out of the pit than his teammate Newgarden, and Newgarden went on to win the race. But it was great to catch up, as always, with Scott straight after the race.
We got time. David Turner. David Turner's Racing World. What time is it where you are, David?
Oh, it's reasonable here. It's 1:45 in the afternoon. It's quite pleasant. I quite like these races.
There we go. Go ahead with Scott McLaughlin.
Thanks very much, Dave. Great to be back again and see you guys and be there in a few weeks' time for the final race of the season as well. But Scott, my question for you really, or a couple of questions for you. What was the transition like once the sun started going down in terms of visibility and things like that?
Yeah, I went against what my helmet preparer guy said. He said I should run a tinted visor with a clear visor with a tinted tear off. I said, no, we'll be right. Let's go full tint. And then by the end of the race, it was dark and I had a full tint visor. So that wasn't ideal. But the vision was fantastic. I mean, the lights here are awesome. I think finishing under lights is always a spectacle as well.
Just carrying on with that, does it make that much of a difference when you go to the clear visor? Like for the people who obviously are not in the car like you guys are, just what's that experience like?
It's like running 195 mile an hour with your sunglasses on in the dark.
Okay, gotcha.
And then you go to your glasses and you're fine. That's exactly that.
And then you touched on it just slightly before. Be nice to see some more night races in the season, wouldn't it? Like they certainly bring a different spectacle to. I'm not putting down the day races at all, but the night races bring something quite special. The way the cars look, and then for you guys, the changing temperatures and things.
Yeah, I think this twilight race is awesome. I think it's great temps for the fans as well. You got to think of the people in the stands, and it's all ultimately it's all governed by TV and whatnot. But ultimately, I think with our new deal next year, I think there's a lot of things open on the table, which we're all very excited about different start times and whatnot. And and I think we're really excited to work with them in the future.
Well, it's great to see you back on the podium again. Look forward to catching up in a few weeks as well. Big run now to the end, though, with these races back to back almost for you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Always find it great to talk to Scott McLaughlin. He's one of those guys, a bit like his teammate Will Power, where they talk from the heart. You get a genuine answer to a genuine question, and you know that you're getting just an all-round good answer from them that tells you a lot. There's a lot of drivers these days that talk media speak, and I'm not having to go at them for any particular reason, but it's really nice when you get these guys that just tell you their honest statements and feelings, and you get that from Scott every time, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk to him as well, and a real privilege in that case as well. Righto, so let's look at these 4 remaining races as they stand. Portland this weekend. What do we know about Portland? Turn 1. Got to be careful there. Dixon, off there a few years ago, went on to win the championship, however, but that could have been a game changer. So put a big tick by turn 1 for Portland this weekend. It could affect anyone. Got to qualify well. You do not want to be mid-pack, that's for sure. Milwaukee Mile, what do we know about that? 2 races at Milwaukee Mile, so that's going to be interesting. What's it favour? The short track oval specialists. Who are they? Penske. Then we go to the Nashville Super Speedway. Haven't been back there in years. Was a happy hunting ground for Dixon, which you'll hear more about shortly. But the bottom line fact is that's another short oval. So if the Penskes are in the equation, you'd have to keep them in that equation going to Nashville, and a return to an oval to end a championship season as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting how these next 3 weeks play out. Righto, back to last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway St. Louis, and our race winner, Joseph Newgarden. Now, I kind of stirred the pot a little bit when I asked him the question here because I was very curious about it, and it came down to the fact that he swapped his helmet during the red flag period. I wasn't sure whether it was legal or not, so there was only one way to ask, and that was ask him outright.
We'll take one more from David Turner and one more in person, and we'll wrap it up. Go ahead.
Thanks very much, Dave. Thank you. Joseph, I've just got one thing. I was actually listening to the radio broadcast at the time, So I might be wrong on this, but did you change your helmet under the red flag period? And was that because of the visor situation?
Yes, I did. It's funny. Like we talked about this before the race. I'm surprised if Scott didn't, because Scott and I were talking about this. We both prepped 2 helmets. We said, we're basically running this thing in the sun. So I ran a full tint visor, like as much blocking as you could, basically. And then it got really dark because we had, cautions and the red flag. And we said, if that happens, we should have a clear visor on a helmet ready to go, and we'll just swap helmets. So that's what I ended up doing.
So fundamentally, that's an okay thing to do under the red flag. I'm just not sure. So
it is, what they classify that as now, because we've had a lot of red flags recently. It's a safety issue. It's the same reason they allow us to have fans immediately or liquid immediately. If they allow us to take tear-offs off the car, anything that's related to safety, they immediately allow under those conditions.
And then for you personally, did you just make that decision based on how dark it was getting with the amount of distance there was to still go? Was that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we probably could have stayed. I mean, you can still run the race with a dark visor because of the lights, but you just have a little better clarity with what's going on with a clear at that condition. So I thought, look, we have the time. We might as well do it. We talked about that we would do it. So yeah, we were just basically going according to plan.
Okay, well, that's cool. Thank you for that, and congratulations on the win today.
Thanks.
Well, interesting answer from Joseph. I find it quite interesting that he said that that McLaughlin had the same strategy as him and they were contemplating changing helmets, but I got quite a different answer from Scott. So I'm not sure whether that was a gameplay or not. We'll just put it down to one of those things. But I do feel currently there's a bit of tension in the Penske camp. They keep denying it, all 3 of them, but all 3 of them are not as matey in the press conferences as you've seen in the past. Joseph's still in the championship, mathematically just. Tim Cindric this morning saying he's still a championship contender, so therefore there are no team orders at Team Penske. However, I think he probably could have done the right thing to Will Power and maybe McLaughlin the other day. But hey, it's Team Penske. That's the way it goes. No quarter given at last weekend's race, so we go on to the road course this weekend at Portland. But very, very interesting answers from Joseph Newgarden, that's for sure. And as I said, I don't think it's an overly happily paying ground at the moment. So IndyCar conducted a test a few weeks ago at the Nashville Superspeedway. It was a tyre test, but it was also an engine test as well, to look at how the cars would run, maybe on slightly reduced boost levels to keep the racing closer. Now, Worldwide Technology proved that the cars can run there. There was a 2-groove racetrack around there. Let's hope for the same thing at Nashville. But it was very interesting. I managed to catch up with Will Power and talk to him about his feelings about Nashville.
As I always said, I've been looking forward to having a season that finishes with ovals. I feel like I have unfinished business there. I lost a couple of championships doing that, so to fight for one, that'll be cool. That'll be really cool, and I can't wait to get started. Well, I know it looks as though that we have been very strong on ovals, which we have, but when I look at the last few races, I think it's anyone's game. I don't think anyone has a big advantage. It's very situational. Pit strategy and that sort of thing, track position. So we'll see how that plays out. You can't sit back and think that this is going to be easy, because I can guarantee you it ain't. And it's going to be very different always to what you expect. So you've got to be ready for the unexpected.
Will's chances not done and dusted, but they did take a dent last weekend, and that was courtesy of that restart with only 8 laps to go. So it was a real shame. But Power, he's one of those drivers, he's been in this game all season, kept his nose clean early on, if you remember, all the way back to St. Pete and the push to pass gate with Penske. So, Will, I'm not ruling him out of this, and with this number of races to go, he's certainly a championship contender. And for Dixon, it was a happy hunting ground a few years back before they went to the street course in downtown Nashville and the planned street course for the future in downtown Nashville once the football stadium is modified and they can get down the main part of the Honky Tonk Boulevard, which will be phenomenal. But for Dixon, Nashville has pretty happy memories, that's for sure.
Lots of great memories here. The team was always very fast here. We had a lot of wins, which was always good. So hopefully we can replicate that when we come back. That's how maybe the finale should be, even though, Nashville street course was always fantastic, just because there was a lot of unknowns. strategy could be flipped, and I think that's important, especially if there's a championship race going on that you don't know until really the last minute of the race. So, hopefully we can have good side-by-side racing here like we did in the past. I think that would definitely help. But an oval to finish the season is always exciting.
So will Dixon still be a championship contender come Nashville? You'd have to hope so. Will McLaughlin be there? You'd have to hope so as well, especially if you're a New Zealander. Have 2 drivers in the hunt would be great. Armstrong doing a great job on the ovals too. Let's not just forget about him for a second. He did a great job last weekend, so there's plenty more to come. But I think that Dixon really can still be here. He's a wily old fox. Wouldn't it be amazing to say in 3 weeks from now that he's got 7 championship titles to his name? Man, oh man, that'd be phenomenal. And we'll be at the Nashville Super Speedway every day that's happening, and there'll be some special Racing World reports from there. So until then, or until next week when we talk about Portland, thanks for watching Racing World.